enough to have mayoral candidate Amy Jackson, current vice mayor, on to speak with everyone. Just before we get started, let's just do a couple of go over the agenda and then a couple of housekeeping points to help everything moving. So we're going to start off with allowing Amy to introduce herself, talk a little bit about her candidacy, her experience. She's certainly no stranger to Del Rey. Then we will do an open Q&A session about the last 10 minutes. We'll cut off questions or answer the last question, and then give Amy the opportunity to close out any final remarks. And 6:59, we will adjourn so that everybody can get on with their evening as scheduled. So if you've been on one of these before, ground rules haven't changed. What we'd like you to do is, if you want to ask a question, please either use the raise hand feature or just raise your hand like this in the frame. We'll try to keep track of who's there and what questions. That way we can just kind of keep things being paced. We would ask that you ask your question as succinctly as possible, so that we can get time for the answer. And then if you've got second questions, or we'll see how many people have their hands up. But if not, then we'll go on to the next one. But if there's a follow-up or clarification to be had, please feel free to ask it. The intention here is to give Amy the opportunity to fully answer your questions and to have yours answered. One thing that we think is really critical, and one of the tenets that we've really tried to adhere to at Save Del Rey is that we are all neighbors here. So we all see the comment section of Alexandria now and some of the more toxic places. So we just want to make sure that even if we disagree, right, that we're not disrespectful. And then if anybody can't follow those rules, we may boot you out of the meeting, but I don't see us having that issue. So with that, Amy, thank you again very much. I'll turn it over to you, and you can give us a little bit of background about yourself, whatever you want to say. I'm going to stop the screen sharing so we can see you, and and then we'll just open it up to the floor.
Sounds good, Nate. Thank you. Thank you all for having me. I really do appreciate it. I love coming and speaking. It doesn't, and please keep in mind, whether I win or lose, hopefully I win, but honestly, any time is a good time to do these talks, not just during election season. So I'm happy to come anytime and talk more with you all. I am Amy Jackson, Vice Mayor, 6th year on our City Council. Privilege and an honor to serve my hometown. I was raised here. I've been here since I was 9 years old. My mom found Alexandria, and it's a long story, but I went to Patrick Henry Hammond and then what is now ACHS, and then went on to Virginia Tech and have a bachelor's in communications journalism and 2 master's degrees in education from George Mason University, one in curriculum instruction, social studies, and the other one in education leadership, which is school administration. And those were that was a lot of night school while I was in the schools, and I was in Fairfax County Public Schools, not Alexandria. So my career is in Fairfax County Public Schools, our neighbor. Why am I running for mayor? A few reasons. Obviously, Justin, our current mayor, is decided he is not running. I've thrown my hat in the ring with the title and my institutional knowledge. My life's work is working for Alexandria. I have volunteered a lot of my time on boards and commissions and nonprofit organizations prior to being on council, as well as during my tenure on council. I think we have a lot of things to continue: our schools, public safety issues, infrastructure, transportation. I mean, the list goes on and on. We have done some great things, I think, during my time on council, and some things that I would question, as many residents have and should. I live here right alongside you. So I do think that one of the main reasons also I want to bring up is just leading us through the pandemic. Some things I'll give kudos to Justin on, and honestly, that was one of them, because no one predicted a pandemic. No one. And the fact that by fate and by vote, we were up there on the dais together during that time period and trying to get Alexandria to the other side as safe as we could get them without knowing about vaccinations and what we were dealing with, but also knowing that our kids were out of school, the achievement gap grew. We definitely had economic disasters, honestly, around us that and that we are still dealing with to this day. So as much as we may not be in that health crisis anymore, we're definitely in the economic and education crisis still. And we can certainly discuss that at length. That also brings up, though, of course, the arena, which I came out against after my campaign did a couple of surveys. Yes, we brought it to the community with a framework agreement and could not do that before because of proprietary information. However, once we really started digging into it and hearing, of course, me listening to the community and being in it, it wasn't the right fit. And it wasn't from the beginning. I'm a Caps and Wizards fan myself growing up here, but we were trying to hear the people from the beginning of, we don't want a lot of density, but we also need to bring in more for our commercial tax base. We have 82% residential tax base, and we needed to diversify. And I think everyone thought that that was the silver lining. But in the end, I just felt that the quality of life would have been, it just would have been detrimental to our quality of life, between our infrastructure not being ready. And by that, I mean our roads, I mean our parking. It would have taken away a lot from neighboring neighborhoods. And honestly, WMATA did not build that Potomac Yard Metro for that amount of people. So anyway, it was a no-go for a lot of reasons there, but also I didn't want to put Alexandria on the hook for something that was so risky to do with the numbers that they were giving us. They could give us all the bar charts, and I talked to, Alexandria, as you know, has many experts, and they're not all on city staff. So if you don't go out and actually use the wisdom of the people that live here in the 15 2-point square miles of Alexandria, then, I think that's a detriment to our city when we're one of the most educated in the land. So I need your help to be mayor, if you want me to be mayor. If not, well, someone else has it in hand, it looks like, but I'm not giving up without a fight. And it's my city. And I think that we need to slow the roll on some things. Single family housing, I'm happy to talk about that more. I moved for single family housing to be taken out of the package that had 8 items in it. It was seconded by Councilman Chapman, and I appreciated that. He did not have to vote alongside me. It could have certainly been a 6-1 defeated vote to keep single family housing in, but he didn't. He stuck with it. So you have 2 of us that at least heard the people then and thought maybe we should not be doing this right now. But it was defeated. So the motion continued 7-0. And I am proud of some of the other things in that package, which is why I didn't vote against it completely. I had been bringing up office to residential conversions since 2020 when the pandemic hit us. People were closing, and we needed to figure out how to make sure we were still economically saleable. So, but we have a lot of issues, and parking reduction was also another one we wanted to take out. You can go back and watch the video of all of us trying to grapple with the mayor on that. But obviously here we are. There is a second component to zoning for housing. We have 6 years to initiate it. I do not see that in my future as mayor. I wouldn't touch it. So, there's that. I'm trying to think what else I need to say. Happy to talk about schools, happy to talk about public safety and crime prevention. I can go on and on about how the kids and the middle schoolers are creating that crime right now because they're bored and they have nothing to do and there aren't outside programs for them after school. And so that needs to be funded. We still have mental health components that need to be funded, and honestly, we've had the positions, if anyone was hearing that during our budget talks, we had and we have 300, I'm rounding, I think it's more than that, positions for mental health professionals, social workers, all that. And 1/3 of those positions are not filled in the city. So we have the money and we are trying to hire, and either people are leaving for other jurisdictions that pay more, or they're just not being brought up through a system that I'm hoping to create, like internships. And I think there are some in our system. DCHS has some of that, but we need to make it more prominent and promotable, and basically raise our own that hopefully will stay in the positions that will then, propagate that particular position. But I think COVID leading through it, we're not done with it as a city. I think it's traumatized our youth. I dealt with a situation today. I won't go into it, but most of the day was taken up with an emergency situation, near and dear to my heart. And yep, I think that's pretty much the pandemic at its root with our youth. I'm happy to take questions. I'm the
Sure.
conversation person. I don't want to keep hearing myself go on and on and on when I know I could be lecturing more and more to you, but definitely the transparent one on council, and
Why
happy to
don't
take
I,
questions.
then why don't I start with a question while we have everybody thinking their questions. Like I said, if you've got questions, please, you can do this. You can put up raise hand feature. But so one of the things that you touched on here was that there is a second phase to zoning for housing that is currently under
Yeah.
uh, grant to review. One of the things that we have seen in Delray is that there are some of the unintended or undesired consequences of zoning for housing. A lot of things that people within Safe Delray were concerned about we're seeing happen. We're seeing homes demolished and replaced with massively oversized homes. There's I think the most infamous example is over by Duncan Library on the corner of Euler and Commonwealth. But what that's having a side effect of is that is driving up the land value considerably. So if you look at whether it's the townhouses that are sitting next to the Hyundai dealership on Duncan, whether you look at those duplexes on Euler, both of those lots were appraised by the city at, I want to say it was like right around $800,000 each. Both of those properties are now collectively worth over $5 million each. And that has a follow-on effect, not only in terms of people being able to purchase new homes, but also in the taxes that we're paying, right? Because the comps are going up.
Yep.
We know that the tax rate just went up as well. So my question would be, what kind of or what programs would you support, or how would you think about looking at areas that were affected in a negative way from zoning for housing, especially ones that were not only impacting the existing built environment and communities, but also having essentially the direct opposite effect of the intention of that program?
Right. Thank you for the question, Nate. So one, I'll say I need 4 votes to change anything. So happy if you can get me 3 others to help with this. So, you know, and we've been saying it here. I mean, I'm a Seminary Hill resident over here, and we like our open space. We couldn't have gotten through the pandemic without it. I know Delray is more I don't want to say crowded. I know it's a charming town over there, but I can never find parking when I need it most of the time either. And when you're bringing more people, I mean, that's what this is all creating. It's creating more density, more overcrowding of our schools. It's creating overcrowding of our neighborhoods. It's going to bring more cars. And there are some on council that don't realize people actually need those things. Um, it is disconcerting that you can take down $1 million home and put up 4 $800,000 or more townhomes. That's not affordable. And honestly, when I was going and making the motion to put a pause on the single family home zoning, a lot that was going through my mind was all of that, plus why are we going so fast? And Arlington is dealing with this right now. Can we just wait until we get the decision? That's it. I don't understand why the speed to this issue. And yet I think we all know, nuanced as it is. So here we are that Arlington has booted it. And now, of course, we've, you know, if the city attorney's on here, she's gonna kill me because I'm not allowed to say certain things right now. But I will say this because it's public knowledge. The same substitute judge who is in Arlington is also the substitute judge that took the place of our recused judges in Alexandria to hear these cases. We had some decisions made the other day. I'm sure you all are aware of those, so I am not going to go into it because I do not want to get booted off council for saying something I shouldn't say right now. But I will say that it's my personal opinion is it's eminent that this judge will probably find the same result as in Arlington. I can't imagine he wouldn't. But again, if they're looking at different things throughout the process, then I'll leave that there. I'm no attorney. In terms of how to fix what we've started breaking, again, I think it relies on a court case that we don't have the results of yet. And I'm with you that I'm praying for a different outcome than what council voted on. Honestly.
But Amy,
So, but I don't know what else to say.
I mean, even
I don't want this either. So I think this is where we're all in the same boat because I tried to pause this and here we are. And now it's like we're going to mess up the character of neighborhoods. And they're all the unique neighborhoods. They're everything that I grew up with. They've been the change over time. I mean, Delray, and many people have heard this story from me. I was not allowed down in Delray when I grew up. My mother, if I wasn't killed in Delray, she'd kill me when I got home if I went down there because it's not the way it was, which is amazing. But I guess I question if it's not broke, why are we fixing it? Because there's nothing that was wrong with it. And I think people are so concerned about, I shouldn't say it like this. I'm proud of Alexandria and I'm proud everyone always wants to help the most vulnerable. And I think that's where, honestly, a lot of the decision was lying with council. How do we make it more inclusive, progressive, diversifying our people, not just our taxes, right? How do we make sure that people can live wherever they want? And that's hard to do, and you can't do it on a dime. And you certainly don't want to mess up lifestyles of the people that have come here because that's the lifestyle they've chosen, and it's the lifestyle that they were able to invest in. I really question, this is me, sorry, it's been a long day, so bear with me on some stuff, but I had to come home and get roommates and live over on Stevenson Avenue in a condo because that's what college kids do. You are not supposed to come right out of college with a $300,000 salary and live wherever you want. I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think it's practical. I don't think it just doesn't. And some of what I'm hearing from colleagues is they should be able to pick up and live anywhere. Well, one, it's not affordable, and two, they don't have the salaries to do it. Do I want to change that? Absolutely. I couldn't live here without being married and having it's whatever the lifestyle you've chosen. And it's hard when people that grew up here do not have the resources or the help in terms of pricing of housing to come back to where they grew up, because that's ultimately what we want. Alexandria raised me. I came back to make sure that I could help with the next level of people that have to help Alexandria too, and raising my kids just like that. Sorry, long-winded answer,
No,
Nate, but I get really, well, I'm sorry. Okay.
no, it's a great answer. Did anyone have questions? Okay, it looks like we got Sandy, do you want to go? And Sandy, you're still muted.
Karen, you were about to ask something. Why don't you go?
I can go after you, Sandy, please.
Okay, we're at.
Well, don't all fight over me. All right.
What if I?
Well, Sandy trains my dog, so I have to be deferential.
I saw a cute dog there. Deborah, is it Deborah? Had a cute dog right there.
She does have a cute dog.
There was in the last number of years, there's been a lot of bad decisions made by city council, as you know. Some you voted for, regardless, but as with the zoning for housing, we also have coming up in the near future the Duke Street Transit Way, which is not going to solve any of the congestion issues that the nightmare that people experience every day. It's not a Delray issue, but it is. A lot of people from Delray are stuck in that traffic on Duke Street. Are you willing, as if you became mayor, to revisit that issue? And if you had the votes, really get the accurate data that they were not using to determine if it's even necessary to not allow cars to make left turns into the businesses on Duke Street and cutting off West Taylor Run, the roadway, the Duke Street service lane that the city is proposing to make one way and cause havoc there. I mean, everything about that plan is going to wreak havoc. So just asking. But before you answer, I do want to say I do appreciate the fact that you voted against the slaughterhouse, and that you voted against the I believe you voted against the road diet.
And
right?
ADUs. I have voted against ADUs too.
And the ADUs, which that's another thing that we're going to be stuck with the rest of our lives in Delray. Horrible.
And not affordable.
No. Look on the corner of Windsor, and I have to look at this one every day, Windsor and Leslie, where they took out an old farmhouse on a triple lot with a big oak tree. Well, they took down the oak tree because that's where they were going to put the Duke Street on the Duke Street, the duplexes on steroids that they've built there, and they've left a dead tree in the back because that meets the city's requirement for tree cover. But right there on the corner of Leslie and Windsor, there's a little bungalow on the corner, and then right next to that is this monstrosity. 1.5 million they're asking for those duplexes. They're disgusting looking too. Anyway, back to the transit way. What are you going to do something about it as mayor?
Sandy, can I answer the question? Sorry. So just so you know, Sandy and I, just like a couple others of you, we have these ongoing conversations. So this is not the first time Sandy and I have had this conversation about this or anything else for that matter. So I will say to Sandy's question, because she knows pretty much what my answer is yes, I would try to do something else for Duke Street in Motion. This is not a good scenario in any way. They brought it to us before what they should have brought to us is the Telegraph Road interchange. That's what they should have brought to us. They didn't. And then, well, you all can go back and watch the video. Basically they brought this other plan to us, 10% of it for the design, and the Duke Street in Motion, the Telegraph Road interchange was not part of that project. Okay. So we want to see what the design is. So we say, okay, and bring it back to us. They have not. We asked them to bring it back to us in by November, December of last year. It's May. They don't want to bring it back in public, which also I want to say, there was a point in time, I can't remember whether it was a retreat or they were in front of us for, I don't think it was budget stuff. sorry, I'm forgetting exactly when, but until I called the question about Duke Street in motion for whatever they were bringing up at the time, I think it was transportation, TNES was in front of us. And I asked the question, what about where's the update? What about the plan? And they didn't know what to say. And then I said, well, what about the Telegraph Road? And then they said, well, they said, oh, it was 2 projects, but now we've put them together.
What does
Okay,
that mean? What does that even mean?
filling us in. So I think Chapman then actually got on that bandwagon, and he was, I mean, there were a lot of not happy people up there and that particular discussion had nothing to do with Duke Street in motion. But if I hadn't called the question on how that path was going in the discussion at the time, we wouldn't have that information because we're just not informed. So things to change. But when it gets back to Duke Street in motion, let's talk about the bus shelters and bus stops that are being taken away in order to run a faster bus, which doesn't help anyone that is living near bus stops. And the accessibility issue is the issue at that point when you're taking that many away from people that actually ride the bus, and then they're not going to ride the bus because you've taken their bus stop away. It's something. So I don't think this is a good plan. I'm afraid for the businesses that are along the corridor there that are probably holding on by a thread as it is. And I don't want to see any more businesses going out of business. If we're going to be a business friendly city, then we need to help them, not hurt them. And I don't see how a bus transit way going up and down and no bus stopping in front of the businesses and then no left turns into the businesses from Duke Street, that's not going to help anybody. So again,
You have to make a U-turn. You have to go to CBS to make a U-turn.
4 votes. Need
So,
4.
so I
So-
think Karen, I think you're next, and then Carter, and then Rod.
Everyone's got their hands up.
I'll
Okay.
be,
Yeah.
I'll try to be quick, and mine are all intertwined. So just so everyone knows, when Nate and I pulled Save Delray together along with many of the people here tonight, it was over 2525 Mount Vernon Avenue when Bonaventure put their plan to make it that monster apartment building. And Amy was good enough to spend a Sunday afternoon with us walking around Mount Vernon Avenue, looking at how close it was to our neighbor's house, and also looking at that historic core of Mount Vernon Avenue, because Bonaventure owns that as well. So I have a kind of a 3-part, it's a 1 question, but 3 different areas. So we've got 2525 on Mount Vernon Avenue and our historic corridor. The arena is no longer coming to Potomac Yard. And then I walk our dog in Old Town an awful lot in the mornings and am stunned at the number of vacant buildings there. I'm in the heart of Old Town on King Street. Right. So Amy, what is your plan, or what is your vision to keep Mount Vernon viable, to bring something that we can all agree to on at Potomac Yard, and help beautiful King Street, because it's really sad right now.
Really sad. Agreed. I agree with all of that, Karen. Great question. So I'm going to start by saying something really, everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, it's not everyone, but because of the arena, AEDP took a hit, right? I mean, people really are concerned about our economic development partnership there, because they went out and got us something that they tried to retrofit for our city and make the numbers work. And so I feel bad for them on that regard, because if you look at that, they go out and they try to bring business here, and they've done a tremendous job in the past. The arena didn't work. Will they continue to try to bring businesses here? Absolutely. I mean, we now, I don't know how many know about the Five Guys headquarters. We've got that, they've moved in. which is great since we had the original 5 guys. It's now where Silver Diner is, right? And Benchmark. So I think they're trying to do their due diligence, and under AEDP, we now have the small business center that Bill Reagan ran forever, started it 25, 26 years ago, 27 years ago, maybe now. But it needed a host. And so AEDP is that host. So the small business center is under them, and we were able to bring somebody over from, oh, is she Arlington? She's either from Arlington or DC's small business. And she's something. So I think with people who know how to bring business in, it will start happening. That being said, you know, we have a lot of places that financing has fallen through. Developers financing is falling through. Businesses financing is falling through. People are no longer able to make it. And I tell you, it goes back to the pandemic when we were trying to make sure everyone was okay through the health crisis. And you had the federal, you had CARES Act, you had ARPA funds, you had the state helping, you had us because we'd saved for a rainy day in the city. We don't have those things anymore. So we help people through the health part of this, but this is where we're still struggling with the other part. So to do that, yes, we're depending on AEDP and our small businesses. We're depending on our small business associations to say, how are you making it? How are you doing? Do you have anybody else that would like to move to the city? You know, also the Small Business Center helps with, and AEDP helps with the grant process and grant writing and all of that to make sure that everyone has every resource available to them to help accommodate the funding they need to either bring the business here or stay here. And everyone sees it. You've already just said it. It's hard. So this is why, we were doing office to residential conversions to try to get, okay, well, we can work on affordable housing structures if we have, that type of capability for transition. But again, all that's going to do, not to be the Debbie Downer here, but the trajectory is still going to continue with the 82% residential tax base to continue. And of course, a lot of people are working from home. PTO has pulled out. So that was our downfall in this year's budget. So over $700 million, we don't have that anymore in our commercial tax base, right? So these are the things that we're trying to offset so that, everyone stays afloat. I think we're going to do it. I think we are finding every avenue possible to do it. And of course, we don't, as a city, everyone will always continue to help each other. But remember, because we pivoted, I love that word still, in the pandemic to Zoom and doing everything at home, it really hurt the workforce that no longer needed to go to work. So then, we have to start being creative about, no one wants to hear this because I'm sure everybody here or most people work from home, but how do we capitalize on, this is the capital hat now, not the resident hat. How do we capitalize on the small businesses that may have 1 or 2 people working from home, but they're actually part of a bigger corporation that may not even be here, but the workforce is here. So these types of ideas have to be bounced around. I read a lot of Biz Now. I don't know if you all do too. I recommend it. It has a lot to do with what developers do, what businesses do. And you can subscribe to it's basically a digital marketing and business newsletter that comes out a few times a week. I also want to say, visit Alexandria. So I'm on the board of Visit Alexandria. And I think people aren't giving them enough credit also because they are our marketing arm of the city. And we just put some more money into that during the budget because it's needed. They have to go out and help also bring people, whether it's tourists, whether it's businesses, as soon as you bring people here, they spend money, they think how charming it is, or even if they are seeing some empty storefronts, thinking, is that a dream that I could, bring to fruition? Can I have a storefront right here on King Street with the lights on at night and, open a mason jar, shake place? One of those is down there. I never knew about those before, but you have what we don't want are, or what I don't want. I mean, I was sad to see like the Gap go, right? We had some stores that have been there forever and were really anchors, but we also want the boutique, right? The boutique businesses. But it's hard for them to stay afloat. So we have a lot to do. We have a lot of people working hard at it. And I think we're going to do it just like our schools. The achievement gap's already shrinking, but no one wants to see Alexandria in that state. But I also want to say, if you look around in other jurisdictions are going through the same thing right now. And I think this is where everybody has to be creative and has to basically roll up their sleeves and get to work. And that's what we're going to have to do. And that's what we did. I mean, there's so many times throughout the history that I've, been related to Alexandria and what we've had to do concerning, you know, funding and how people aren't, when stock market doesn't do what you want it to do and everybody is trying to figure out where the next paycheck's coming from. And we'll get there because we're hard workers and we have faith and we help each other. So we're going to continue to do that and help our small businesses grow and hopefully bring in some great things that are not the arena. I think we totally got played on that anyway. There's so much about the arena.
What would you
that
like
could
to
be
see? What would you like to see at 2525? I mean, it's a great building across from the school.
It is a great, so, that's a really good question. I'm glad we need, no one's going to want to say this because everyone thinks I'm going to go backwards, but 2525 honestly should have still been a hub for a lot of things, to help our services. I think our services and our people, I think that would have been a great, because everyone already knew it, that they could walk in and do certain things there. It's like kind of the Del Pepper Center on the West End, right? Which is where everybody went. But I guess I'm still concerned that we've left the people on that side of the city in Delray in a lurch, because are they going to be able to get to the services that are now over at the Del Pepper Center? So why can't we have still some services there?
Now you gotta take Duke Street.
And
Yeah.
Andy,
Oh, gosh. So we
What
had,
about a school? What
we
about
had a-
expanding it as part of the school?
yeah,
I think that's, well, so here's some things that have been kicked
thought-
around. Yes, you're absolutely right. I think we have a lot of overcrowding going on. I think Mount Vernon Community School has, my God, I think they're at about 1,000 kids. I don't even know how to, I even imagine. But it's also the Spanish immersion school. So we have a couple of concerns thinking about the over enrollment there, what it's based for. Cora Kelly, future, George Mason's first, but Cora Kelly in the future, of course, will need to be modernized. So how can we make that building something that's still a municipal building? I would love that. Whether it's services and or rec center and or, we still don't have a conference center. We can do a lot if we put our heads together and actually start sharing services with the schools, which is what we're trying to do. And that also helps with funding. So we're trying to be fiscally responsible while we are trying to create these bridges and relationships between the schools and the city and the rest of the businesses down there. But I don't know if it could be made into workforce housing in a way, whether it's for teachers, or fire, or a little bit of everything, honestly. I also think that, so, and just hear me out on some of the office or, office to residential conversions just around the city. I think that we need workforce housing, but my idea would be more to go to developers and say, can you set aside 5 or 10 units, different sizes, for our workforce? So for teachers, for sheriff, for law enforcement, period, for our emergency personnel. So it's workforce housing. Nate, let's move on. This is what Rod's saying. Rod's ready to move on. Okay, well, there you go. We can
Did
move on.
did that answer the question, Karen? And I'm going to switch up the
We
order
can
of
just keep
folks.
going. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm going to switch up the order of folks
that's
because
fine.
Aaron did not get to ask a question last time, and Patrick had messaged me privately saying he had a question about school. So,
Okay.
but Aaron, I want to make sure that you can answer your question last time since we called on you right as you had to go attend to an issue. So,
Oh, that wasn't me last time.
oh well, you're up
That was
already.
Kate.
So,
Okay.
Um, what's I gonna ask you? Okay, so one of my questions is about rebuilding trust with the community. I think, at least I speaking for myself, I really felt strongly that when zoning for housing happened and then right after that they announced the arena, I really felt like I had been lied to or deceived because those two things seemed connected and it seemed like that would have been important information. So do you have thoughts about rebuilding trust with the community?
Interest. So yes, sorry, the way you just worded that, something just triggered in my, so one, uh, you know, I apologize for how that all happened because that shouldn't have happened that way. And I've asked a lot of questions I've listened and I've learned that is not the way it should have been done. I also think that the city did not do its job in terms of getting the word out to all the residents. I mean, if you think about how everyone is mailing flyers right now for everything, but we get recycle flyers, we get snow flyers when we get all these mailers from the city, and yet they didn't send a mailer about single family housing. So, or just zoning for housing in general. I know it was a year-long process. We, we started some things in like 2019, but of course then it's the pandemic. Things change. And I don't think we worked with that enough to be successful. And again, I say, why did it go so fast? In terms of rebuilding that trust, yes, I think, I mean, I do everything I can. I'm accessible and I'm trying to get out in the public as much as possible. And that's usually where you find me every day, every night is talking to people around the city. And all I can do is apologize for how all that happened. Again, for as much as, and this is no excuse, but there's some people that are just in the room and there's some people that are actually at the table. And some of us aren't at that table. So the ones that drive a lot of this decision making have not been me at the table. I hear about it the next go round that we need, help doing certain things. And I just go, well, we'll see. But in terms of getting back to the public and being absolutely transparent, I mean, that's one of the things, I tell a lot of people, I can't lie to anybody because I won't remember what I've done, right? Like I have to tell the truth to everybody because I can't remember if what did I say if I didn't tell the truth? So that's me. And that's probably why I've been such a thorn in the side of some others that are up there with me on the dais because I'm pretty authentic and a straight shooter. So, but
Aaron,
again, it's who needs to be elected that has that same way about them, because I'll work really well with other people that are also as genuine and authentic and see the good in some things that don't have to be done.
Aaron, did that address your question? I thought it was an interesting the fast follow of the arena announcement, just a matter of weeks after zoning for housing was passed.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so Patrick, I'm going to go to you, and then we'll go back to the original order. But since Patrick had sent a note privately, I want to pull him back in.
Okay.
All right.
Hi.
Thanks, Nate. Amy, thanks again for making yourself available. Hi. I wanted to make sure that we covered schools topics, and I know you're well versed in it. I've heard a lot of your positions. I'm concerned. I'm just going to tick off a few things I'm concerned with and then kind of let you respond. But we have a large number of kids that are overwhelming the available resources at the school, particularly the high school. It seems to me the theme that was just mentioned before echoes through here. I have a lack of trust with the school administration. I have a lack of trust with the school board and with central office. I don't think we're getting the straight scoop. I see them hiding numbers. I've been shouted down on my dad's listserv in the neighborhood by our mayor because, he disagreed with some of the comments that we were making that were factual. So that concerned me. I'm concerned about there's a new strategy where they're rolling out an academy approach in the high schools that doesn't appear to be well thought through and hasn't been communicated well to the public. Most parents I talk to don't even know that it's happened. I'm also concerned that the school, AC High School, required all of the principals and deans to resign last month to be reappointed sometime in the next 2 months. Just found out today, our favorite principal got laid off. She had the highest graduation rate of all the current academies. So yeah, I've got a lot of concerns. I can't say online.
Sorry. Okay. All right.
But in any event, serious trust issues, same kind of themes with the city council, like muzzling people. The school newspapers had terrific reporting. They now have to report to central office, on any article that they write. Is that free speech? I mean, serious concerns. But I'll stop. And
No, I appreciate all the feedback everyone's giving me. I appreciate this. Okay,
Mhm.
so all right, well, where do I start? Let's start at the high school.
Mhm.
So the academy program, now, okay, I am not school board. So putting that
Yeah.
out there. All right. This is what I think is happening, and people will kill me for even saying this out loud, but this is what I do because this is what I hear and this is what I think is going on. So I live next to the Mini Howard facility.
Mhm.
I have to pass it, a lot of times a day. It looks amazing. Can't wait to tour it. The academies, from what I've heard, they are working on a transportation plan. But do you realize that Mini Howard will be grades 9 through 12 when it opens in August?
Mhm.
It will be all grades 9 through 12, not just ninth grade center. It will have 1,600 students housed there.
Mhm.
Okay. Honestly, and I think I alluded to something like this in the article that was written about me in the profile, and my husband actually jumped because he's like, when were you for a 2 high school system?
Mhm.
This is what I think they are trying to pilot program something that they didn't get the okay to pilot program.
Mhm.
I think we are looking at a 1 high school system,
Mhm.
2 high schools in it
Mhm.
would be my guess.
Okay.
Because you'll have King Street campus and you'll have Mini Howard, and both are going to be 9 through 12.
Mhm.
So the one concern everyone is here, and I'll give the example, if a student is taking AP chemistry and an orchestra, they're going to have to be in 2 buildings.
Mhm.
Those are the situations they're trying to deal with right now.
Right.
And so it's going to take a minute for it to come together, but I don't see how we're going to have a 2 high school system or more when you have a football field that is at one high school and you have now a regulation pool at the other building that was just built.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about equity and inclusion, I think what will start happening is because Titans are I mean, they've got huge letters on the side of Mini Howard right now. It says
Mhm.
Titan, big, like
Yeah,
large letters. I don't see any other way that both of these schools won't be high school facilities
you're right.
and still be all Titans.
Right.
That's fine, but I think what you're saying, this is why there's no real communication yet.
Mhm.
They are trying to figure out probably how they're going to
That's
communicate
gonna work. Yeah. Yeah.
because it's not just a ninth grade center. So stay tuned. And I think that's a good thing because that will mitigate the over enrollment or overcrowding that we're having. I think it will help with, to your point of deans and everyone. So let me speak to that for a minute because I am concerned. The other side of me is how many of those deans were certified in education leadership.
Mhm.
So as having that certification, I know I can be a dean, I can be assistant principal, principal, superintendent. I don't know if anyone would hire me without a doctorate for superintendent, but I can be all those things.
Mhm.
If you are a dean, I think you need to have that degree or at least take the program and have the certificate. And I am wondering if this restructuring was due to maybe some people being there their entire careers and doing well at it, but not having the certification needed to actually retain that title. I'm talking out of school, sorry, no pun intended, but that's what I'm thinking without researching it completely.
Yeah,
So
well, those are questions we'd like to answer too. They're changing the goalpost. They were going to give a year mitigation, then they changed it to 90 days. So we just don't know.
that's why I think it's right. I heard, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
All right.
So,
I think we got
is
time
there
for,
anything else about schools? I'm sorry, Nate.
no,
Did I answer what I needed to answer? Because
Yeah, I'll hit you up, Amy, for follow-up.
I'm happy to, as everybody here knows, happy to talk. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay. All right. So I think we've probably got time for one more question. So I think we're going to go
For
to,
a couple minutes. I don't mind. I'll be fine. I can go the
okay. Okay. So Carter, maybe quickly, and then Rod will have you ask yours quickly, and then we can let Amy head off.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Nate, and thanks, Amy. And I will be quick because I've got Seminary Hill coming on the heels of this.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but it's not so much a question as a request to please pay attention to the forthcoming King Street Brad Lee
Oh, I know.
safety improvements. This, going back to Sandy's point and all, this is a pattern of making work for people that are employed in the city. No one except 5 bikers has asked for a bike lane to run in front of a hugely busy shopping center where drivers are turning in by the hundreds every day. And they are moving, we have met with them. They are moving forward with it. They're like, oh no, the mobility plan said we must put a bike path, a dual cycling track here in front of the shopping center because it's a missing link. Well, you can go from Northern Virginia Community College on Braddock Road. This cycling track will have the cyclists, all 2 of them, turning onto Marley Way to go out to Braddock Road because you can't get anywhere from the access road to a metro station without jogging. So it's a pointless exercise that we have begged them to stop and think about, and they are not. And so the community meeting is scheduled next week, and then it's going up to planning, and then it'll, I guess, come to you because they want to apply for grants for it. So I just beg you, this is a pattern of what they do over and over. without any input from this, just regarding input. So just please keep an eye out for this, because this is a disaster.
It is. I live right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Believe
and I
me,
know
we've
you,
already I remember being over at Waypoint and yelling at the top of there was no council member there. This was before I was on council. They've messed up Minokin and North Early. Yes.
so
Yeah.
please.
And they're doing the same thing to Holland Lane. They're going to take 2 lanes away. I'm like, use a Sharrow. Sharrow's work.
Yes, or have a consistent bike path.
Yeah.
Nobody's opposed to that, but
Yeah.
you don't have to have a little segment everywhere in the city to somehow prove that you're bike
Well, all
friendly.
they're gonna do
So-
is-
You won't be able to get to King Street, right? You won't be able to get to Safeway from King Street because they're taking
Well-
out the service road. to put
Well,
a
they
bike
now
lane in.
they've backed off of that segment of the service road because Safeway put up such a stink. I think the Bradley merchants have no idea what's coming because
Right.
they
Okay.
don't. But anyway, that's all I want to say, but thank you and sorry.
Thank
I
you.
have
Yeah.
to go.
Why don't we, Rod, if you can go ahead and ask your question, and then we'll go ahead and wrap up. So I mean, you can just kind of roll into your parting thoughts there as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, hey, Madam Vice Mayor, thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate this a lot. This is Historic Preservation Month, and 1 year ago this week, the group Preservation Virginia designated the town of Potomac Historic District as being one of the most endangered places in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
I know you and I have talked this individually, but I was surprised at the fact that 1 year out now, 1 year out, the city has done nothing to acknowledge that designation. It's kind of funny to me because if some blog puts up a post that says Alexandria is the best place to raise a pet, yeah, the city puts out a news release saying this is great, but the city did not acknowledge at all the designation. There's been no action at all by the city manager, the planning director, the mayor certainly, and it makes those of us who are members of Save Del Rey wonder what the city's dedication is anymore to historic preservation. I mean, neither you nor Aaliyah, not to mention the people running for council, have talked about historic preservation as being a priority in their campaigns.
Sorry.
I mean,
It's
has
all over my
Alexandria has Alexandria just sort of abandoned the idea that preservation is important? Because preservation is not just about buildings; it's about neighborhoods. And right now, we're under threat here, as you know, in Del Rey. And if you were mayor, I mean, how would you change the trajectory that we've been on under Mayor Wilson?
Okay, thank you for the question, Rod. So I think that, well, one, I love our unique neighborhoods. It's not just the designation of them, but it's the culture within them. So we have to preserve them. In terms of okay, they are historic preservation. Okay, I'm a history teacher. So look, the historic preservation part is, I'm all about that. I'm all about the Old Town preservation. I want to make sure Del Rey has that designation, so we need to work on that. I wish you'd told me a little soon. I mean, we're halfway through May. If I'd known, I could have done well, I might still be able to figure something out. Okay, we'll talk offline. But I do think that in terms of why people come to Alexandria, they come here to see the charm, to see the uniqueness, to see the historic part of our city. I certainly wouldn't be one to start tearing it up and taking it down and building what we're building right now, right? So I think that, you know, just like Old Town, those markers on the buildings, I think whether, I wouldn't say national landmarks, I don't know, the town of Potomac, what designation is that right now? There's on Commonwealth, there's a sign. What is that sign? Do you remember?
It's a preservation. It's a historic district recognized by the National Park Service, not recognized by the city of Alexandria.
Okay, so we need to fix that so that it's also recognized by the city of Alexandria. And anything else you need? I mean, honestly, this is going to sound really bad, but I'm going to say it anyway. I feel awful that you all actually have to ask your representative that type of question and that you think that we're going to destroy the city because, well, again, I need 4 people to think like me. So help me with that, please. But I do think, I mean, I wouldn't touch Delray. I think it's come a long way, and I think it's been built the way it should have been built. And I don't think, I don't see high rises that, I mean, well, I was walking around with Kate,
Hey,
Karen.
here come my lawn guys. I got to sign off. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you
Okay.
all.
So, but I think that, no, we need to make sure that people know and places are recognized that should be. And this is obviously one. Can we ask which other candidates you think? I'll do it when I'm not recording. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay, because that'll be a hotbed mess. All right. Yes.
Just
Yes.
put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, Amy.
It's still recording.
Either. But I will, I'm sure you all already have a few in mind. And happy to talk about the placard statement that was put also in that paper.
Yeah, what was that, Amy?
That is quite something.
It's like an outside union was going door to door with a slate.
Yes. So I think that this is what I've heard. Other people
Well, it
are,
was in the paper.
other people have, I know, I might tell you a little bit more about what was, I'm not quite, I read what was there, but I knew more information, so I don't know what
Gotcha.
they actually put, I'm trying to decipher which is which. So I think what we were hearing was it was about $30,000 that was spent to get those canvassers to come out and put those placards on the doors. I do think whether it was two people that I work with right now on the dais, I think it's an abomination. I think it's, I mean, most people, when they think Alexandria, it's not exactly New York City. It's not something where people are going to come here and try to get ahead and then rise to the next thing. And lately, the last few terms, that's exactly what's happened. And I think that there are a few on council that, I don't want to say sold out, but that's pretty much where I feel it is.
You mean stepping stone,
Stepping-
using Alexandria.
But that union, that the first time I read it in the paper that they were Amtrak, they were, I went, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. But all I can say is I think it's interesting that they have to use all the force that they're coming with. I must be really threatening to them.
Just
And
tell,
I'll just leave it at that.
just so everybody is aware, the Alexandria Times ran a story in their latest paper. Can you do something about that? Alexandria Times ran a story in their latest issue, and a union from outside of Alexandria has been going door to door with door hangers of a slate of their candidates.
Of seven,
Of
all
set.
7 that they want.
So, and it's and some of the council candidates that were not chosen, because there are a couple challengers that made it onto this union slate, questioned why they never received a questionnaire, why they never heard of this union, why they were never contacted. So it's causing a lot of questions among the field right now.
Well, and it is unfortunate that my main opponent, of course, she's already been hit with some other financial aspects of her campaign. And this seems to just,
Well, it's a whole pro-development slate. That's what everybody on there is pro arena, pro housing, zoning for housing, pro Duke Street.
so that's what you're seeing. Yep. But it certainly, it
For a
begs,
slaughterhouse.
it begs the question how it's more than one or two people on that placard, and what everyone else, you know, were they questioned? Were they asked for interviews? Did they know what was going on?
Yeah.
So
I put the
if you want
link.
to talk about transparency, I'd say that's a really good segue to, was that transparent? And are those the people you want on council? If they're not, just saying, there you go.
Yeah, well, I think it's interesting that, you know, our fairly small town here has got a lot of targets on it from people outside of Alexandria wanting to affect significant change inside Alexandria. And I think, you know, you look at some of the California-based lobbyists that are pushing for development. You look at, you know, this placard, and I hadn't caught up on the news, so I put it in the link for everyone. But I know we're over time for everyone, so I want to be respectful of that time. Amy, is there any last statements you want to say? I know you've got to run, but I want to thank you again
Thank you.
for agreeing to do this. And
I thank you all. I appreciate those of you still on here sticking with me throughout the whole thing. I would appreciate your vote. Early voting has started. It started last Friday and it goes through June 15th, and then election day on June 18th. So you can vote early at only one location is open for the 45 days of early voting, and that's in Old Town at 132 North Royal, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. You can go cast your vote. There's not a line. Our race is the only catalyst. So there is not a presidential race. There's not a gubernatorial race. There's nothing helping us get anybody to the polls. So I need you all to help get everybody to the polls. And I'll volunteers and contributions, I will take them all and put everybody to work if you want to work for me to get us, get the messaging out there and get me the mayoralship. I would appreciate it. And
Amy-
I'm happy to talk with anybody anytime. I'm sorry I
How-
can't extend this more, unfortunately.
How important are yard signs? You know, we love yard signs in Delray. Are they important to your?
They are very important, only because it raises awareness. And it's honestly just like I was hearing people say, how am I finding out about zoning changes from yard signs? I was never contacted. So yard signs, for as much as they don't vote, yard signs put out the message and make the awareness that is needed for especially a small election. So, because it will be every vote that counts. I mean, I know we say that, we have elections every year. This is the primary. Anybody that is running in the general and moving on to being installed in January, this is the election now. This is so important. I can't even, I don't know what else to say. So I need everyone's help, and I need everyone to get out the word about that. Please. Thank you. And that's it.
thanks so much, Amy. Appreciate your time.
do a part
Everybody,
I'll do a
thanks
part
thanks for sticking with us and for your questions. We've got more of these coming up, so stay tuned to your email. We've got a couple more already on the docket, and we'll send out notes about that. So
Jonathan Husky I think he's next, and then Charlotte Shearer is next. And then I think the last one that's confirmed is Jesse O'Connell.
Very good. And I
Good.
think, isn't Aaliyah meeting with you too?
Oh, Aaliyah on the 20th,
Yep.
right? On the 20th.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. Thank
Yep.
you. I
Good
was thinking,
luck. Okay.
all right,
thanks, everyone.
thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Take
you.
care, y'all.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye.